Hi, beautiful.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Running, but here we are.
Did you have to work today?
No, I was just again preparing things for the retreat, and
Yeah.
different stuff. But here I am. So glad to have you here. How are you?
Good. Good. Thanks for having us.
You
Yeah, this
know,
is great.
it's an honor. It's an honor. Let's present ourselves. Our beautiful guests today, Amy and Maggie.
Hi.
Hey.
Hi, everyone.
Hi. Could you please talk about yourself a little bit to introduce you?
I'll go first. I'm Amy, Fiber Arts Amy. This is Freya, who's interrupting. Um, I have a floss tube, and I love cross stitching, especially Mirabilia.
Yeah.
And Maggie and I are going to be hosting a Mirabilia themed retreat here in a few months.
Yeah. We are really exciting about your new retreat, and we can talk about this experience of retreats. And for me, this year is going to be the fourth one.
Wow.
So I'm really excited. We have to suspend the retreat here in Mexico because of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So we stopped at 2 years, but we started in 2018 with the first one.
Wow.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, my name is
And you,
Maggie.
Maggie?
I'm Maggie, aka
Yeah.
Kitschy Whips. I also have a floss tube. It's by the same name, Kitschy Whips, here on Instagram and on Flosstube. And
Yes.
I'm really excited to not only talk about retreats, but to spend some time with you, Yanni, because
Oh, thank
you
you.
stitch a lot of Mirabilia as well. I know for me, I stitch a lot of Mirabilia, chatelaine. I feel like I do a pretty big collection, but obviously, if you look at my page, my focus is very obvious.
Yeah. I guess we all as teachers have different journey, and our taste change with the years. I've been stitching for almost 40 years. So at the beginning, I start with a magazine that came from Spain or from Italy. And here in Mexico, we have a large tradition of cross stitch and needlework and embroidery, but it's very oriented to clothes and very traditional types of needlework. But I really start to love designs like Mirabilia through internet and with foreign stitchers. So I start to follow all these designers, and it was a game changer for me.
Yeah, Instagram in particular, I think really opens up a whole world
Yeah.
of enabling.
Yes. Yeah. The first time I start to see all these designs with the beads and the crystals like chatelaine, I said, how is this possible? And in my in the national tradition in Latin American, the use of beads, it's really antique. So I really didn't know that until I see modern needlework, but it's a tradition here in my country. It's start raining. Let me close the door.
I have to do something with my hands.
You're fine. So, Yanni, did you say you've been stitching 4 years?
40 years. I started stitching 40.
Okay, I was about to say, if it was only 4, that room that you are in is like a miracle. How many finishes do you have? Do you know?
No, I haven't counted, but I guess like 100, I guess. But my focus on stitching is about 20 years ago, because I stitch, and I most of the stitching that I did, I gave it away. So when my kids were little, I started stitching and keeping my pieces. So that's how and stitching really helped me, with different phases of my life when my kids were little, or we have, struggling with the small apartment and then moving to a new house and, things in general. I always find the time to stitch at night, and I usually stitch at night because I was always working and with the family, but the stitching was always something really present on my life. And I remember when I was talking with Nora, I was telling her that her designs always, make me so happy. And really, I got emotional because my kids were really small, and, finding, stitching a mermaid or a fairy, and it's something that I always cherish.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
It's funny how like life has changed so much, but ever since I started stitching, Nora's designs have always been like a constant there, right?
Yeah.
Like you can, I can name what I was stitching during, different parts of my.
Yes, yes, that's so true. And because of that influence from my stitchy friends from another country, I start with the retreat because I was watching, other retreats and people gathering, and it was something I really want to do. And one of my stitchy friends told me, why don't you organize your own retreat? So you don't need to go to another country. You can, organize one of your own, no? And because it's funny, I start with the channel, and I start with a blog and then a channel, on YouTube, and I start my channel in English.
Wow.
So many Mexican friends that I didn't know, or Spanish from Spain, start to follow me and ask me if I could, record videos in Spanish. And I said, yeah, of course, because I started English because those were my first friends and my first connection with the Stitchy community.
Right.
So it was, not intentional, and then I start to record in Spanish and to be part of my Spanish community that I didn't know at first. So I started with the idea of the retreat. And, at the first it was like something not so common and really strange because my stitchy friends, Mexican or Latin American friends, they didn't see how they can be together for a whole weekend, stitching. They said, we can take a coffee one day, and it's the same. And I was saying, no, it's not the same. It's a totally different experience. So it was that struggle because people look at me like I was, talking crazy because they say, how we can spend a full weekend together stitching? Who is going to come? But they come.
So what encouraged you to keep going? You've got this idea for the retreat. People are telling you, yeah, do it. But then you've got the people in your community, like the people that would come saying, what is this? Like, what encouraged you to keep going and say, okay, well, you'll see.
It still is like an illusion, like a labor of love. I make this retreat to people to be together, to share their love for cross stitch, to learn something, and also to teach something to everyone. So it's a labor of love. So at first I was hoping with my husband, because I'm lucky enough to have a really supporting family who, it's funny because they look at my stitchy work and they love it, but they don't really get it. They don't really know how much work and all the process that we go through. So, but they support me. So I at the first I said, you know what, if we have 10 people, so 20 people, it's going to be a success.
Yeah.
Because we are going to be together stitching and it's going to be great. So that was the first idea.
That's so smart. I've been thinking a lot about us going and talking to you and our retreat coming up and just the community in general, and that like our families, like you said, can be supportive and they can be very impressed and they can be very grateful when you give them something and they get the aesthetic, but they don't get the sense of, they don't get the joy that comes from knowing that you created something that's going to last. Like one day we are going to be gone, but through stitching and through the community, maybe we're able to leave something behind that.
And yes, and that is something that you girls must be prepared, because once you enter that room, and for me it was, and for the rest of my stitchy friends who went the first retreat, it was electrifying, you know, finding yourself in a room full of stitchy pieces and full of people who understand this process, who share that love with you. It was like magical. You know, people enter the room and they look at me and they look the pieces and they look the tables and the little, you know, welcome bags, and it was magical. So it's something that you must share it when you have your first retreat.
Yeah, you've got the solitary part of stitching, which is where you are stitching and enjoying your hobby. And then there's the community side of stitching where you're sharing that with people that get it and get you and want to see what you're working on and vice versa. And I think the retreats just kind of bring all of that together and gives, Amy and I have tried very hard with planning our retreat to be as inclusive as possible.
Yes.
Everyone is welcome. And in particular, this year, we're doing specifically a Mirabilia theme, but we've always said, you don't have to have ever stitched a Mirabilia to come. Like, we just want you to be with us and to catch that electricity and that excitement, and to know that you are a part of what makes that excitement happen.
Yes, and was one of the first thing that I have in mind when I make the first one, and I've been doing this for the rest of the retreat. I have to prepare, you know, a gift bag or a welcome bag where I include everything to stitch. If you came to the retreat and you don't have anything, you don't have a project, you don't even know exactly how to cross stitch, you can start from that. And you will have many teachers around you. And the thing that we see in the community, how we help each other, how we support each other, it's really palpable in a retreat, because everybody is trying to help, is rooting for you, are so happy for you. So one of my first goals was to create this welcome bag with a kit. I design every year a different pattern for the attendees. So I dye the fabric, I prepare the flosses, I give them needles and scissors and a project bag. So if you came to my retreats, you have all of this. You know, each year I'm making my gift bag bigger and bigger and bigger. And this year I am saying to the attendees, there is not a larger bag to contain all the things I'm preparing for you. So you will need another suitcase.
Wow.
I think your retreat.
Yeah, we definitely need to come to your retreat.
Yeah, it's so exciting because, it started with that. You know, looking at other retreats around the world, you see that they give, you know, these little details. And it's different here in my country and in Latin American countries, because we don't have access to all the materials, to all the patterns, to all the things that we see on internet that are really, right now we have the information, you know, at one click, but unfortunately we don't have access to linens, to Luganas, to Mirabilia patterns are not available here. And it's a struggle, and it's terrible, and it's another topic. Yeah. Because we really wish that we can get PDF patterns, not because we want to create, you know, or attempt against the copyright.
Right. Right. You just
from Nora, because otherwise it's not possible to get the patterns. Since the first retreat, I tried to buy patterns, to get through my friends, to try to show them, because some of the teachers never seen an original Mirabilia, because we can get it here. So you can order from United States or from Europe, but you have to wait 2 months to them to arrive. Sometimes they get loose, and we ended pay the price of the pattern 3 times or 4 times. Ooh. And I don't think that's fair. And we
that doesn't make sense to me at all.
Yeah.
Do you have LNSs? Do they just carry different things, or are there really not LNSs in Mexico?
Yeah, we have local LNS, but again, because we have this tradition of needlework, we, you know, can have access to DMC or to Anchor flosses, but for fabrics, it's really not available here. We have AIDA, but it's national AIDA. It's very good. I love to work with that kind of fabric, but that's it. You know, most of the patterns, they don't sell them here. We have kits from Lanarte and Dimension. Those are, we can get it here. But Mirabilia or all of the patterns that we see on Nashville, or, you know, everything, it's really hard. So for us to can get those patterns on PDF version, it's a life-saving, because we can stitch them.
Right. Yeah, it's having that access, and that access helps provide that inclusion. That you feel like, okay, well then, you know, the patterns that be care that we need access, and it, you know, help get that.
And we are aware of the problem of the copyright and all of that. We know that. And many years ago, when we start, you know, checking internet, it was the first thing that appeared, you know, the illegal copies instead of the original ones. But then we have to educate ourselves and to try to support our designers. And, you know, it has been many years, and the mindset of the teachers has been changing to support the designers. But again, if we can get the patterns here, it's a double, you know, struggle. So it's hard.
Right. When is your next retreat?
It's on October also, the 13, 14, and 15.
Nice. And how many attendees are you going to have this year?
120.
Wow.
Yeah.
How many did you have at the first one?
Like 38, 40.
Wow.
That's what I was thinking.
And how many attendees are you going to receive this year?
We have 144 people.
Oh, so exciting.
Yeah. We, you know, I feel like a lot of that has to do with Nora.
Yeah.
Being there, for me, I'm hoping that next year's retreat, people are still going to want to come, even if we don't have Nora.
Yeah.
We're not, well, you know what? Give us your input, Yanni. Our thought is to not have a Mirabilia theme every year. Maybe every other year. But again, with that inclusion, we don't want people that just flat out do not want to Mirabilia to feel like they can't come to our retreat.
Yeah. I find that
an alternating.
I find that every retreat, in my case, I don't focus in one theme, but every year it has its own personality. So it's different, even though you organize the same and you work with the same love, and every time it's different because the people make it different. I always say that even though I organize the retreat and the work and everything, the retreat it's or my retreats are from the people who attended. So I guess you will have to wait until you pass this first one to sense what the people want and how they feel.
Okay.
That
Because
makes sense.
in that case, you have the advantage of having different retreats. I mean, cross teachers can attend different retreats around United States, but perhaps you can't be the one with Mirabilia, with a Mirabilia team. So I don't know. Perhaps you have to
Yeah.
wait.
That makes sense.
Are there a lot of retreats in Mexico? Is it just yours?
Yeah, it's from of cross stitch. You know, it's the first one and the only one because we have different events from needleworks or crafty, you know, events.
Okay.
But from cross stitch, it's the only one. And it's because of that, because we don't have, you know, a lot of material, a lot of patterns, so it's not such a large market, you know, like United States.
Mm-hmm.
So we try to adapt to the circumstance that we have, and that's why also I invite people to, because we all want the fancy linens or the fancy fabrics or the fancy flosses that we see, but sometimes they are really expensive and the time and the, you know, shipping and everything. So that's why I try to personalize my projects. Part of the things that I like to be creative and that, but also because otherwise we can access to all of those materials.
That makes a lot of sense.
And it's something that you also have that advantage that you can bring, you know, patterns or vendors who can show their you know, different fabrics and designs and everything. So that's another thing for you.
Yeah, that is true.
I wish you were able to do that down in Mexico. I'm not liking the sound of how hard it is to get things down there.
Yeah, yeah, and it's something that you know, I read a lot in the Facebook groups. That, for example, with Nora in particular, that she's very much against, you know, having that
Yes.
PDF versions of her patterns for the copyright issues. But I see differently because of my situation, and because the problem of copyright is it's still there, it's going to exist, and you can see with the designers that are taking that route of selling PDF, you know, important designers, and they find their way and they gaining, you know, more sales. And if you pay for a pattern, you feel that connection with the designer, and it's different. The relation is different.
Yeah.
So here in Latin America, it's going to be, for example, if we have the chance to get a PDF, it's going to be the first time for many teachers to have that original pattern for the first time. Because you can say, no, you can order on in United States. Here in Mexico, we can receive, you know, patterns, but in many Latin American countries, they don't send, you know, the patterns. So how else are you going to get them?
Right. No,
Yeah.
I'm absolutely in agreement with
Yeah.
that. I want stitching to be as accessible as possible. And in this day in 2023, that's not all that possible if you're not on the digital bandwagon.
Yeah. You know, Instagram, especially during COVID, I really launched into Instagram and got more connected on Flosstube and whatnot. And it really opened up a world to me of especially Eastern European designs and seeing the huge culture there is there, and its stylistic differences in their patterns, but also it's opened up this world. I end up following a lot of Japanese designers and a lot
Yeah.
in cross stitch, but also in quilting. It's just been amazing to see what all is out there, and it's been such a boon to like my creativity to be able to order things from all over the world.
Yeah.
So I wish that was possible for everyone.
Yeah.
You know, that
Yeah.
everyone got.
But I think I'm positive on that because many years ago we cannot think or dream in the things we are doing right now. So I'm positive that it's going to change because the world in general is changing to that route or that way of digital commerce, and it has to be that way because otherwise, okay, you are going to be the best LNS, how do you say, brick and mortar?
Yeah, brick and mortar store. Yeah, the best seller.
It's going to be the best, but it's going to be the last one if you don't, share that digital commerce.
Now, would an LNS in Mexico, like, can you open an LNS shop and like bring in some of that stuff?
Yeah, but again, it's a struggle because I have I wrote to Wichel and Sayward, but they have different channels and of distribution, and it's not easy. I mean, I think they don't consider that how many cross stitchers and how many stitchers are in Latin America. They don't see all that market, available, or the opportunity of that market.
Yes.
So
Now, can I ask, what have you learned from doing your earliest retreats to now? Like, give us some advice here.
yeah,
What have you learned, like some tips, things either to make sure you do or not do?
well, I guess it's like not necessarily a cross stitch event, but to have to let go. You can control everything. I'm very, very, a control freak.
Okay.
Thank God that my family loves me, but I need to, for example, I prepare all my kits from April to May. My house is fully occupied half of the year because I like to prepare the kits, and I like to the flosses go in the right way, in the right direction, and everything has to be perfect. And I learned that it's not upon you. You need to let go, and also you need to enjoy the experience because it's going to be so many things, and you need to get ready for so many things, and then you realize it's Sunday and the retreat is over. So try to enjoy, try to be with the people who you are preparing the event for, and try to feel the love of the people who are stitching with you and who are with you in that event, because it happened to me that suddenly it was Sunday and the retreat was over, and where the time goes. Yeah, so try not to control everything and enjoy.
Let go and just enjoy it. It's almost like a bride at her wedding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
once you're there, you just gotta let it go.
And just enjoy yourself and talk to people. And what is one thing that like you have to have at every retreat? It could be something as simple as a certain snack or like tablecloths, but is there one thing that you're like every year you're like, I've got to have this?
Well, in my case, the design, the pattern that I design, because once I create that design, I start imagining the rest of the event. The color of the teacher and the bags, and the first sketch of the design gives me that idea. And in my retreats, I also include a dinner, two dinners, one for Friday night and one for Saturday, the meal of Saturday. So I include that in my retreat, because the hotel where we, make the event, I try that the people feel comfortable and they can rest in the hotel and they don't need to go out, because again we don't have LNS to visit. So I also offer, visits to the city, and they came up a bus, and the bus gave, a tour
Oh,
to the
that's
city.
nice.
And yeah, and we have the small gift exchange, and we have raffles and, different activities. We also have like a bingo game. Here in Mexico, we call it loteria. So it's very much like bingo and, different activities. But again, each retreat, it has its own personality,
Mm-hmm.
and try to enjoy. At first, the first one, I have, this schedule from 9 to 10, I'm going to do this, and from and no, and mostly with all those people, because they came to the retreat to enjoy themselves. So you are just in charge of give a nice space, a really, snacks, but they make the party. So you are just there to enjoy and to watch and to facilitate things.
Right, that makes sense. Well, it's kind of funny because when we first started talking about it, in my mind is like, well, all I need to do is find a room, right? Like I need a room, I need chairs, I need tables, bada bing, bada boom. There's a street, like,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And of course, we're
Yeah.
finding out that that's not 100% true.
No.
But for the most part, it's, if you build it, they will come.
Yeah.
If you have
Yeah.
space and,
Well,
the time is right.
you've got to understand, Maggie, her head is so full of ideas.
Yeah, I
One
imagine that.
is, but I swear it'll be like 2 days before the retreat, and I'm going to be getting messages of like, "Hey, Amy, what if we do this?"
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm very big on ideas. I don't always have the talent or the finances to make them a
Yeah.
reality.
Oh, we still got 3 months. We've got 3 months, right? August, September, October. We got
Right.
3 months. There's still a lot we can make happen.
Yeah.
We're good.
It's
Yeah. And
but like I've messaged Amy going, can I please do this? Can I please have this? Can I please order?
stop it. Stop
Yeah, and
it.
Amy is like, maybe we should look at the budget. I'm like, no budget, only shopping.
And it's like you said, it's like getting ready for a wedding, or planning a wedding. You have these full ideas from Instagram or from Pinterest. In our case, well, we have the StitchCon, that it's, such a big event, and we can take ideas from different retreats, but at the end, in my case, for my circumstance, I have to limit, some of the ideas. But I try to replace them with little details, with more things, for in my case, my attendees can have this full experience of a retreat, that at the end it's a Mexican retreat. It's going to be different from one of the United States or from Europe, because it's from me, it's
Right.
a Mexican
And
one.
there's only
Mm-hmm.
one Yanni. Like,
Yeah.
only one.
Oh, yeah.
So of course,
The first year, it was really funny, because I was in the room and really exciting, and with my daughter and my husband, and I have that brilliant idea of making the first retreat in a different city from mine, because I find a more center city, to visit from all the country. But it was really a double job, and it was exciting. And the first day, I was in the room, and everybody was like, "Oh, Johnny!" And my husband was, "What is happening? What?"
I would be like that. I would be like, oh my God, it's Yanni in person.
Yeah, but no, it was just the first moment. But yeah,
Oh, that's
and then
so awesome.
it was all joy.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, one of the things I say we're learning is probably mostly me, but Amy has always made a very good point whenever I'm kind of like, I want to do this and I want to make sure people have this or can come or whatever. And she always says, at the end of the day, we got to do what we want to do.
Yeah.
And it's almost like with your location, like, yeah, maybe that would have been a great location, but at the end of the day, you have to be able to deliver and do it at a time that's right for you, and then hope that everybody else can kind of work around that parameter.
Yeah.
I find that's true.
Yeah, that's true. And you know, I have the first one in another city, and the other, the second one and the third one here in my city, and this one is going to be in my city. And some people ask me, why don't you, you know, move to another city? And I even receive invitation from another cities to organize them, the retreat. But because it's my family and me, it's really difficult, you know, the logistic of moving everything and preparing everything. It's such a difficult work. So I was tempted to do this year in a different city. I even got, you know, invitation from the local government to do it in another city. But it was so difficult because I have a full job, you know, and it was really, really hard. And you know, with in my job, they know that I have this event, and you know, they help me really with sometimes, you know, an extra time, and I need to go to do this, and it's, if I move of another city to another city, it will be crazy.
Yeah. Even here a few weeks ago, I got to go down and actually meet Maggie. And, you know, I got to see the actual venue because Maggie's handled all of that because she's in the city where it's being held. I'm several hours away. So it's seen that. And, you know, I've been working on some things for the retreat here in Pittsburgh. She's been working on other things for the retreat down in Charlotte. So I got to go down and deliver a lot of that stuff and put everything together. I can't imagine trying to do this if neither of us lived in the city where it was. You know, like this is hard enough with one of us somewhere else.
Yeah.
Can't even imagine.
Yeah, you need to think in that, because at the end you also need to enjoy the event. And I was talking with a friend last week that the idea, you know, in 2018 when I started the retreat was for me to have a retreat, to attend a retreat. And I was saying, you know what, I need to attend a retreat where I can enjoy it and I can be like an attendee, and I haven't had that experience yet because, you know, it's at the end it's work. You have to work. You have to prepare things. You are the one that it's in charge of everything. So it's a responsibility.
And that's kind of how this whole thing got started too, though, because we had so many discussions about how we wish somebody would do a Mirabilia themed retreat.
Yeah.
In the US, like Europe seems to have it handled.
Yeah.
The UK seems to always be having some sort of amazing retreat.
Mirabilia, chatelaine, all of it. I was joking with Maggie. I was like, maybe we need to throw our next retreat in the UK.
Yeah, and when I started the first retreat in 2018, I received calls from teachers, teaching friends from Spain, and they start organize a retreat. But unfortunately, with COVID and everything, they, you know, they didn't go ahead with the plan. And yeah, it's difficult. And I mean, it's like when we start our Flosstube channels, I invited people. You can, you know, turn on your cell phone and start talking about cross stitch. It's the only thing you need, no? Because at the beginning, it was the stitchers who had a channel and the stitchers who doesn't have a channel, and it was, you know, a little bit of drama. And I said, no, it's nothing of different. You just turn the cell on. And with the retreats, again, you know, it's an experience. If you want to live that experience, you can start perhaps with 10 people, with 20 people, and it start growing from that.
Oh, goodness.
That one's definitely probably the smarter way to say it.
I don't know. I feel like getting death threats if we had stuck with my original plan of
Well,
like 50.
it grew very organically. It was just kind of like what you've talked about, Yanni, is that ultimately Amy and I, and at the time we were talking about this with Memphis Sarah E, with Sarah, we just wanted to meet. Like, we just wanted to be able to sit somewhere and hang out and stitch.
Yeah.
Very low key. And then Amy was like, well, we could do this, but it's so many hours away. And, you know, we were just so, and I don't know, I was like, well, then maybe we should just have a retreat.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of grew and grew and grew
From
into what
there.
Of course, we're very happy and grateful and super excited.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it again, it to me, it all comes back to that community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not only being a part of it, but I almost feel like in a way, Amy and I want to give back to that. To pay it forward, to keep it going. Like, no, come on. Like, we want everybody to stitch. We want everybody to be happy. And you are part of this.
I'm very motivated by trying to encourage more people to stitch memorabilia. Like, if it's not your thing, then fine. It's not your thing, and that's fine. But there's so many people who comment on, you know, memorabilia, on threads where memorabilia is being shared, of like, oh, I could never stitch that. And like, oh, I love memorabilia, but I just don't think I could do it. It's all of those people that I really want to just go ahead and pick one up and get going, you know. And there's a lot of people who are planning on starting their first memorabilia at our retreat, or who are hoping to get it to the point of beading so they can learn from people about how to do the beading at the retreat. That motivates me a lot, is to get these people together. Because if you do have even in-person stitching friends, if they're all sampler stitchers, they might not be able to help you if you've got questions about beading, that sort of thing. So I'm highly motivated by that aspect.
And that happened here with the first retreat, where I bring, you know, all the patterns that I have, and I bought more patterns, and I sell my patterns. That people start, you know, making the first stitches on mirabilias, and in the second retreat they start beating the mirabilias, or talking about metallics, because when I said we don't have materials, we don't have materials. We don't have Kreinig, we don't have Mill Hills, we don't have the, you know, needles, you know, John James. You have to ask for all from other countries, so it's really difficult. So we have needles, we have, you know, metallics, but not the one that are asked for in the patterns. So from stitchers who for first time see a Kreinig, or see a John James needle, or see a little package of Mill Hills, it was really exciting, and I was really, you know, thankful for that experience, to be able to bring that little joy of having that, you know. But yeah, it's difficult. And right now I try to encourage stitchers to find their own materials. Perhaps we can, you know, use a different thread that is not necessarily Kreinig, or beads that are not necessarily Mill Hills, and we can hand dye our fabric. And again, you have the pattern of a mirabilia, you can make it different, and you can make it your own. Right now I love to make, you know, conversion, because not all fairies are really white. So I make mine darker and change the color of the hair, and also break with that thing that we have to have one project and then finish and then start another one, because that's what we learn. And also as Mexican and Latino American, we have the perfect back stitch, and if you don't do the perfect back stitch, you were not a good stitcher. So many of the stitchy friends who are now coming to my retreats or write me to my channel, have that freedom, or write me, what, I stopped stitching because I remembered that I didn't have, perfect back stitch or backside, I mean, and it was really frustrated. But now having that freedom of stitching as I wanted, it's so liberated. So yeah, it's a change of mind. And also I like to talk about the importance of us as a teacher. We're bringing that tradition of centuries ago to the future with our example. It's not a hobby for old ladies, even though I am an old lady, but it's not. It's something that we should have in high love and share to others, and be proud of who we are. So that's part of the things I share in my retreats.
That's awesome. Well, that's one of the things I've always also gotten from your Flosstube videos, is that freedom. If you don't have a material, just use what you have. It'll still be beautiful. If you want to make this fancy lady look like you, make it look like you. Like it is your stitch.
Yeah.
If you just having that freedom, where here's the list of rules, okay? Now you don't have to follow any of them. The point is just to stitch. If you want to stitch exactly as the designer planned it, go for it. If you don't want to, either because you want to make personalizations or you don't have access, I think that is a huge detriment, because a lot of people would probably love to stitch Mirabilia, but if they not only have a difficulty getting the pattern, but then can't even get the materials, and they don't have the knowledge to say, I can substitute this bead, I can use this other brand. I know for me, in 2020, when I got back into stitching, I was like scandalized that people were changing patterns. Like, is that disrespectful to the designer? Like, I was clutching my pearls, as they say. But the more experience I've gotten, and the more different viewpoints and worldviews that I've just embraced and been shown on through Flosstube and Instagram, there's so much more freedom than I think we even realize. And you need to pass on that freedom to the new generation of stitchers.
Well, I think Yanni, how you show that in your videos is so important. And it's going to only become more important. I mean, that's something that always struck me watching your videos, is how you show how you make changes, right? And how you work with what you have. Because I think that's going to, especially thinking about Mirabilias, that's going to just start hitting all of us all over the world more and more. Even in the US, where Mirabilia is based and where we typically think of having access to everything, more and more of those Mill Hill products are going out of production. Less and less access to it. Krynix, they've put a lot of Krynix out of production in the last few years. And not all of us can just hoard all of the things for every design that comes out. You need to be able to, people need to be able to understand that they can make those decisions themselves and adjust things. Even, Maggie and I, we were lucky enough that Nora agreed to design a pattern for our retreat. And one of the fibers in that, it really struck me when Maggie and I were like model stitching this for the retreat, because as we started and we were showing Nora our work, it very quickly became apparent that a material we were using was a different color than what Nora had in her stash to design with. Even things like that, even if things are technically in production, you need to be able to look at your materials and look at what you're doing and make changes. We have to do that. So that's why that's something I appreciate.
For me, it's so natural. I don't have what I need to, or what the pattern said. I use everything. Yesterday, I received a message from Instagram, and they were asking me for a conversion of one of my mirrors. And I said, you know what, I'm sorry, I don't write the conversion because I start Amira last night, and I have here my box, and I start using the flosses that I think they look good, and I didn't write the numbers. So I start the Camille in bloom,
Mhm.
and I haven't used any of the colors called for in the pattern, and just the black one, I guess. But here is my.
Oh, wow. You
Honey,
started last night?
last night.
And of course I'm making the conversion, and changing her hair and her skin color and her eyes, and
Gorgeous.
but
It's
but if
beautiful.
you
It's
ask
so
me
sad.
for the conversion, I don't have it. I am using, taking the flosses.
Right.
And
So
I
you're more of
think,
a pick and choose as you go. You don't plan it out and then start
no.
to stitch.
And for this one, I really like the pattern when it was released, but and I received it from a friend. They sent me the pattern, and but I didn't like it very much at the beginning. I like the pattern, but it was not for me. And I love the designs where you have this close up of the face, but then I read the description that Camille was like playing in the garden, and I start imagining, her mother calling her, and Camille, please sit, Camille, please sit, be like your sister and sit. And
That's
here in
awesome.
Mexico, we said, sentadita te ves más bonita. When you are sitting, you look prettier, something like that. Yeah, kind of misogynist, but
Yeah,
yeah, it's something that they taught
yeah.
us, Sentadita te ves más bonita. Please sit and be pretty.
And again,
So
there's
I
your
imagine.
that Laura's art is made, and while you're stitching, you've got this whole
Yeah,
story going on.
Mhm.
It
yeah.
adds
So
the
I start imagining her thinking, you know what, I'm pretty, even though I'm not sitting for the portrait, mom. So I start falling in love with that design, and I decided to start it. And I was not really keen to stitch all the black background,
I
so
was
I
gonna
dyed this fabric.
It's
To,
beautiful.
Oh, that's gonna be great. The flowers are just gonna pop right off of
yeah,
that.
yeah. But yeah, that's the idea. And that's the idea, you take a pattern, you take a design, and you make it your own. And you enjoy the journey. And you don't need to finish to start a new one. And you don't need to have a perfect backside of your stitching. And, this community is so lovely, and they support each other.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Do you see at your retreats, is there a lot of that interaction where you may have someone that is showing someone else something they've never stitched? Like maybe you see someone pick up a particular pattern or designer that maybe they've not tried, that they will now
Yeah.
because of the retreat itself.
Yeah.
You see that
Yeah.
quite a bit?
That's one of the things that happened. We have the we call it la mesa del orgullo, the table of pride,
Mm.
where we show all the stitchy pieces, and each year we need a bigger table, and we have like the last year I had like 10 tables, and we're all full of stitchy pieces. And the experience of having a mirabilia or a chatelaine, in real life, or even a sampler or any kind of design, and because we all know that the pictures and the patterns are terrible,
Yeah.
but once you see in person, they change your vision, and they change your life, and you need to stitch it.
Mm-hmm.
And we also have many of the of pieces are stitched by different, cross stitchers. So we have the same design stitched many times. So that's also a wonderful experience, because you can see the difference between each other. And as I said, I invite them to personalize and to make conversion, because at the end, we all personalize our stitching. I can be stitching a mirabilia as same as you with the original materials, and the result is going to be different because we stitch different. I use different method, I have a different technique, I have a different tension in my flosses, so it's going to be different. I am personalized my project, so why not go further, you know?
It's amazing how much even a different fabric choice can completely change.
Yeah.
It's just incredible.
Yeah. But yeah, that's some of the things that you realize, and people, you know, watching a design in real life, and they wanted to stitch right away, even though they know the design from many years ago and never, you know, cut their art.
Oh, that's happened to me a lot. Seeing somebody else's, especially with Mirabilia, seeing somebody else's fabric choice can completely take a design from, oh, that's nice, to, oh my goodness, I need to stitch that way.
And please don't be out of print.
I know,
that's
right?
the worst. Like, wait, which mirror is this? Bluebell. Oh, let me go 1, 2, 3 stitch.
Yeah.
Oh, get $100 on eBay. What?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but it's a lovely experience. So your retreat is going to be on October?
Yeah. Yes, it's October 5th through the 8th in Charlotte, North Carolina, which is a state in the southern United States.
Okay.
Amy she lives in Pennsylvania. I'm in North Carolina, so she's very sweetly coming to me, as is everyone else.
Okay.
Everyone, you, Maggie. You are the center of this.
Here. But yeah, so we're gonna do the 5th through the 8th. We're super excited. The hotel. Okay, Yanni, here's a question. The first year you did the retreat.
Okay.
The hotel, were they like, oh, okay, yeah, you can host a group, and like, were they fine? Like, did they understand cross stitch? Because when I went to tour this hotel for the first time and met my event coordinator, she was like, okay, you know, cross stitch. I think she was just picturing like little old ladies, of course, but I think she was also picturing maybe 10 of us. And I kept calling her saying, we need more space. We need more space.
And
then
more rooms.
Like, we basically crashed their website once the reservation rooms like opened up. They finally realized that something was going down. Like, something was happening. And when we met with her when Amy was here, I asked him, I said, are y'all ready for October? Because I don't know that you really understand what is happening.
Yeah.
And she she was like, I don't know if we are or not. Because she didn't understand. She didn't understand the amount of community that we have as stitchers. And if there's a table open, a stitcher is going to sit there and want other stitchers to join. And I think that was really just the whole point of Amy and I moving forward with the Queen City Stitch Retreat is we want to stitch together, and we want everybody else to come stitch. And beautiful things and brag about our own work and brag about everybody else's. And again, just have that sense of commonality and that place where we can meet and everybody gets it. Everybody in the room gets it. You don't have to explain it or try to convince somebody. They're there, and they're there because of that love for stitching.
Yeah, well, you have this year the advantage of many people know how the retreat works, and you know it's more common. When I started the first year, it was not very known, and the hotel was really kind, but again, how, you know, ladies are coming to stitch together for a weekend. And I also asked them if we can stay through the night, you know, through midnight. And they were, yeah, you can, but what are you going to do through midnight, from 9 a.m. to midnight? We are going to stitch.
Yeah, we're
It
still
was
gonna
a little weird. And
Exactly what we're gonna do.
yeah, but yeah, it was great. The second year was great. The third year for me was a little bit of a struggle because I received more people, and the hotel was really struggle with the spaces, and it was a lovely event. But this year I have to change the hotel to a bigger one because of that. And yeah, we still have, places if you want to attend our retreat, because that's another difference. Here in Mexico, we tend to let everything to the last minute. So even though I ask them, you can help me if write me and make the payment for the subscription and everything. They, it's not going to be a big deal if I call you, 1 month before the event or 1 week before the event, but it's a struggle for me.
that makes complete.
Yeah.
Is there one, like, in the future for your retreat specifically?
Mhm.
Where do you want to go? Like, how big do you want us to get? If you could accomplish anything, where do you see your retreat going? Like, do you just want to
Well,
keep growing?
yeah, I guess this is a question for my family, because my daughter asked me, Mom, you have to hire more people to help you. Luckily, I have 4 kids, so and a lovely husband, so they all help me. But perhaps in Mexico City, because it's larger, and sometimes that they ask me, is this going to be the last retreat? Because they start to talk about if this was going to be the last one. And I said, well, we don't know. I always organize my retreat as they were the last one. So all my love, all my work is for this one. So yeah, I really, for convenience, I like to make it here in my city, but perhaps we can make 1 year here and 1 year in another city.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
yeah. And you have all the attendees, the subscription are closed now?
Yes, we have. We have 144 attendees
Mm-hmm.
who are paid and in. We do have a wait list.
Okay.
Although I the wait list of people who would actually be able to hop in and go at this point is pretty small.
Okay.
But yeah, I at least was blown away by the interest in the retreat. I don't know how things work for your retreat, Yanni, but so I was very wrong. Up here, I guess I just assumed that people would not be willing to travel very far for a retreat.
Mm-hmm.
I just assumed, and that was a large part of why I initially thought we wouldn't have that many people wanting to come.
Mm-hmm.
I thought just, there's just only so many people who live within a driving distance of Charlotte.
Uh-huh.
I didn't understand that people hop on a plane to go to a retreat. I didn't understand. So I was very overwhelmed in a very good way with the response we got to the retreat. There were so many people willing to come, and I was really overwhelmed by, I felt like the goodwill of people signing up, understanding how we were choosing attendees and how we were managing the wait list. I really appreciated. A lot of people were just very understanding about that for us.
Oh, let me tell you. Here we receive attendees from Spain, from Chile, from Ecuador, from Venezuela, from Colombia, from Costa Rica, from United States, and of course from Mexico. And it was, for me, as you said, it was amazing, seeing people not only take a plane, but travel through the ocean to
Yeah.
come and have that experience. So that speak louder of how people want to connect with the community, with other teachers, and having that opportunity, you must reach for that opportunity. If you want to attend a retreat, go for it. In the United States, here in Mexico, that we also have, places to subscribe. Please come, and it's an experience that give you all the joy for waiting a full year for the next retreat. You feel with that experience, with that knowledge, with new friends, with all that good stuff that cross stitch give you.
How do you keep people wanting to come back year after year? How do you keep that interest up? Where, because of course my biggest fear is that we do this next year and like 40 people want to come, and that, like, how do you keep that enthusiasm going year to year?
Well, as I said at the beginning, each retreat has its own personality. So at the end, you are only a facilitator. You are only giving the space. And again, you must remember, you can't control everything. But we are acting for the love of cross stitch, and that that jump from year to year. And the people are willing, not necessarily because of of you or of me, because of the friends they reach. And right now we have, a couple of years ago, we are been stitching with FaceTime, and we are making bonds. We can talk right now, and things that was not available years ago. So we are reaching more people, and that make it getting bigger and bigger each year.
I'm less concerned about year two. Maggie and I have talked about year two a little bit. I feel like after this year, with so many people getting, because it is going to be a lot of people's first retreat as well, getting to meet people and have that experience of being in a room full of stitchers, and connecting with people in the same room. I'm confident that even if Nora's not there, that a lot of people are still going to want to come back for a year or two, and just to enjoy time with each other again.
Yeah.
I feel like Nora's kind of icing on the cake.
Yeah. Yeah, and sometimes we forgot the ability to play again with Camille, like sit down and be pretty. Enjoy that weekend. It's your weekend. It's your time. We love our family, but away from your family, away from your job. Enjoy your time. Sometimes we don't give ourselves the permission to have that freedom. So once you start to realize of that, you start to enjoy and waiting for the next year, for the next retreat, because having those days for you, it's a gift.
Yeah, I agree.
I love that. That makes so much sense. And again,
don't worry,
community.
They'll still want to come just to see us.
Well, see,
Yeah.
I just want
Yeah.
stuff.
What?
Like,
And
I can't wait to see these stitches in person.
Oh, I know, right? Oh,
it's amazing. It's amazing.
It's going to be amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, and don't worry, perhaps next year, if you want to keep with the theme of Mirabilia, you can go it, or you can, vary the theme. Mm-hmm. Yeah, right now, here in Latin America, we're starting to stitch samplers. they are not very known here, or we are not used to stitch samplers. And even though we have that tradition, and we have Latin American samplers, dechados we call it here, but many of those dechados are in United States or in Europe, in different museums. So, but right now we are, getting the hang of the samplers. And again, it's an experience that we can share with retreats, and people start to see. I start stitching samplers, and start to fall in love with that. And yeah, it's amazing. And for me, again, the theme of personalization, I have samplers from Hands Across the Sea, stitched in Mexican cotton fabric with flosses from China, with painted by me, and it's all that make the piece unique, and you can enjoy that. You don't need to to follow the instructions.
Right. There's something for everybody.
Yeah.
You don't find what you want, then you just make it yourself. You make those changes.
What you want it to be.
Something that you want to see.
Yeah.
And that you want to put out there.
Yeah. And it's funny because when I start looking on internet for punto de cruz, which is the Spanish word, I didn't find anything, and I said stitch of cross is not the right term, and when I put cross stitch, a world opened before my eyes. It was amazing, but yeah, it was really exciting, and find that community and other stitchers and people who share the love of this wonderful hobby.
Yeah, I feel like there's a designer for everyone. There's a community group for everyone out there. Somebody out there loves to stitch what you love to stitch. And if they don't, they still love stitching. So there's still a common ground.
Yeah. And all the things that we've been learning, through the way in this process, how to dye fabric and how to different methods of stitching. At the beginning, when I start, I tell this story. When I start my channel, I try to stitch with a hoop or with Q-snap. I asked my husband to build me a stand, because that was the way I see other stitchers, cross stitch, and I want to be like them. and I start using the hoop and the Q-snap, but I wasn't comfortable with. And the moment I decided, what, I'm in hand stitcher, I need to stitch the way I feel comfortable. I remove the frame, I remove the hoop, and I start making stitch with me videos, and I was more comfortable, and people start asking me, how do you stitch? And I like your method, and how, and it's these little moments that you start learning and teaching at the same time.
Yes, I learned a lot. I think another thing that I'd say the three of us have in common is our love for chatelaine. And I specifically remember, because I think that's how I found you, is I was searching on YouTube for chatelaine videos, because there's not a lot of floss tubers that show them. And I remember you talking about, I think it was Misty Morning Vineyard, and you were talking about how you would take it to coffee shops and stitch on it. And you said something along the lines of, it's just cross stitch. Like, go have fun. Don't worry about getting it dirty or and that's kind of what we wanted to do with Chatelaine Wednesdays. That whole freedom, like we've talked about the whole time, just stitch and make it where you're comfortable, and use a hoop or a scroll frame or in hand. You don't have to be like everybody else, and your work doesn't have to look like everybody else, and it's still right. It's still good because it's yours.
Yeah. And as I say, it's cross stitch, and yeah, it's a chatelaine. It has some difficulties. The charts are not very clear sometimes, and it's a struggle. And because
we lost Maggie.
Sorry, I had something in my eye, and I didn't want to like. Thanks for pointing it out, Amy.
I thought it was a chatelaine that it like made you like.
I was tearing up. I love chatelaine so much.
yeah, and I have friends who send me, Jenny, don't say it's easy because it's not easy. And I said, okay, it's not easy. Okay, I'm sorry, it's not easy, right. But it always it's a process. You need to, and I find that looking for pictures of the chatelaine in specific helps a lot more than the pattern itself. You watch on Facebook groups of chatelaine and you see those pictures and you find the answer perhaps for a specialty stitch or something. In my case, I'm a little, tricky because if I don't like the specialty stitch, again, I change it, I put it other thing, and it's not really that important for me. But I know certain stitchers want to do it as it is. So yeah, pictures are really helpful.
Yeah,
I have one chatelaine here. Let me show you.
Yes, please.
Oh, so good.
It's so beautiful.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, it's stunning. I love the colors so much.
Yeah.
Oh, Yanni, it's gorgeous.
Yeah, this is my third chatelaine, and I have like 10 on my, progress bag, whip bag.
Yeah. Video, I guess, where you showed like all of your chatelaines and talked about. It's one of my favorite videos. I love that video. It's just so fun to hear you. It's just so fun to see people that love what you love.
Yes.
And as excited as you are to talk about that.
Yeah.
And encourage people to give them the encouragement that they can do it. I always say that chatelaines are complex. They're not difficult.
See, I agree. And I like telling, and people ask, somebody the other night was asking me this about Teresa Wensler's too. I don't feel like any stitching is necessarily difficult. Some of it's just more time consuming than others. Yeah. Some of them are going to be mindless stitching that you whip through, no big deal. Others take focus and attention, and you're changing colors more frequently or this or that, but it's not hard.
Yeah.
It's just time consuming. Sometimes time consuming.
Yeah, and you have to give yourself the permission of stitching a chatelaine. Yeah. Perhaps it's not for you. Perhaps you find it really difficult, not your type of thing, and you can put it away. But you have to give yourself the chance to try it. For example, I have tried to stitch full coverage like heaven and earth, and I can't. I just can't. It's very difficult for me, and perhaps it has to do with the fact that I like to change my projects and I like to make. And with a heaven and earth, you can do that. You have to stitch it as it is, because that's the objective of that kind of work.
Floss a shade off. You can't, it needs to be done exactly as.
So I have a few, like 10 heaven and earth, but I start one and I really like the art and I really like the design, but I cannot make myself, stitching a heaven and earth. And I have many friends who stitch, and for example, we have a night session and we are FaceTime and stitching, and they are making, heaven and earth, and I just can understand. It's not for me. So perhaps you can find even mirabilias or chatelaines, but you have to try. You have to give yourself that permission and job. I have a friend from Spain. Her name is Anna, and she's a wonderful stitcher. She doesn't have a channel or anything, and she doesn't stitch mirabilia because they are boring for her. She can make a mirabilia in 3 days. She stitched heaven and earth in 2 months. So it's amazing. She's like a machine. But and she find mirabilia really boring because she said, I finished the mirabilia in 3 days and I have to get all the materials and I'm going to go broke. And I prefer to stitch a heaven and earth and spend 2 or 3 months and finish it. But yeah, we have to find our way, and also we can change through the years. Sometimes I remember I didn't like designs or a specific style from many years ago, and now I love it. And I say, I getting old, I don't know, but you can change it.
Yeah, it's okay too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Well, I hope your retreat in October is just amazing, perfect, super fun.
Yours is going to be amazing. Amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you. I can't wait to hear about yours afterwards, and I can't wait to actually get to the start of ours, Maggie, and actually get to start meeting all the people that we've been talking to for so long.
Yeah, putting a face and stitching together. It's a wonderful experience.
Yeah, and we really appreciate. You were one of the first people to reach out to us. I remember I posted a story like, does anybody run cross stitch retreats? Because I have a million questions. And you were like one of the first people to message and offer your experience and your knowledge. And we just really appreciate that. We could not have done any of this without you and other people in the community like you that just support. Just support.
Go for it.
Want to see people have fun and stitch.
Well, and people who have chipped in. There's so many people who have chipped in to help Maggie and I, whether it's with logo, charting the design, all kinds of things, people volunteering to help their, day of, doing registration. There's so many people who have just out of the goodness of their heart. And I think having that same spirit that Maggie and I have had of like, we're just trying to throw a really great party, right? Like we're just trying to make a great party for everybody. There's a lot of people that have helped us get to this, and that will help us in the next few months kind of bring it home.
Yeah.
So we appreciate you and your time.
Yes, thank you.
And encouragement and support. It really means a lot.
I'm sure it's going to be a success. It's going to be wonderful. Enjoy. Let go. Have a great time.
We'll have to remember that. Let go.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, we are only in charge of, as you say, Maggie, bring, get the room, get the snacks, get the tables, that's it. The people make the retreat.
The rest of it gotta happen.
Thank you to Maggie, to Amy.
Thank you, Yanni.
I hope you had a wonderful time.
Oh, this
we did. Thank you so much.
Lovely to get to connect with you in person.
Somewhat face to face.
Yeah. Bye, Yanni. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Have a great